Good morning, students. So, in this video, we are going to start with the types of the tissue, and specifically, we are going to start with the plant tissue. In the previous video, students, we have studied the introduction of the chapter tissue, and we see that how the tissue is being formed and how the cells is being specialized, the process of differentiation, and we have also observed the advantages of division of labor. Students, you need to know one term, that is the study of the structure of the tissue and the organ is known as histology. Okay, so histology is the branch of science in which we are basically dealing with the structure of the tissue and organ is in the present in the living organism. ठीक है, and this histology, this study is also being carried out through the help of the microscope. जैसे हम सेल की स्टडी करते हैं वैसे हम टिश्यूज की भी माइक्रोस्कोप से स्टडी करते हैं. Okay, students, so now we get to understand that what do you mean actually by the term types of the tissue. As you know that if we talk about the plant tissue, so in if we talk about in the case of the plants, so plants is also considered as a living organism and made up of tiny small building block that is known as cell. So when cells in the plant combine together and form a specific tissue, that type of tissue is referred as the plant tissue. And the same thing happens in the animal. The cell which is present in the animal body combined together forms a tissue is known as the animal tissue. So students, in this video we are basically going to deal with the plant tissue. So now plant tissue is further categorized in two important types, that is meristematic tissue and the permanent tissue. Students, here is an example. It is an activity in which the inverted onion is being placed, okay, and you are going to observe that after some days the root is being appeared, okay, over here. So this is the experiment. Now we need to understand that why root is being emerged from the sections of the onion. So in that case, if we talk about the meristematic tissue, so meristematic tissue is the type of the tissue that occurs only in the certain specific region of the plant. प्लांट टिश्यू की बात कर रहे हैं हम. प्लांट टिश्यू को हमने दो इंपॉर्टेंट टाइप्स में कैटेगराइज किया, मेरिस्टेमेटिक एंड द परमानेंट. और मेरिस्टेमेटिक की अब हम बात कर रहे हैं, तो मेरिस्टेमेटिक टिश्यू इज द टिश्यू दैट अकर्स इन द सर्टेन रीजन, specific region of the plant. This meristematic tissue, students, is basically responsible for the growth in the plants. ये growth के लिए responsible होते हैं, ठीक है. उसके अलावा these are the present basically at the growing region. Common sense की बात है, अगर growth के लिए responsible है तो growing region पे present होंगे. Just like tip of the root, okay, tip of the shoots, okay, and cambium. So basically, if we see over here, this is because a dividing tissue is also known as the meristematic tissue. Now students, now what do you mean by dividing tissue? So meristem is the site or the region in which cells, the type of the cells which are present is continuously dividing. यहाँ पे जो cells होती है वो continuously divide करती हैं. Okay, meristematic tissue is having the group of the young cells. उनमें young cells होती हैं that have the capacity of the cell division, जो continuously cell divide करने के लिए होती हैं. Fine. अब आगे देखते हैं. So depending on the region where they are present, now meristematic tissue is also being classified into 3 types. अब जहाँ पे meristematic present होते हैं, अगर हम उस region, उस particular place की बात करते हैं, तो meristematic tissue is also being categorized in the 3 types known as the apical meristem, lateral meristem and the intercalary meristem. ठीक है, तो ये 3 टाइप के मेरिस्टेमेटिक टिश्यू हमें प्लांट में देखने को मिलते हैं, एपिकल मेरिस्टेम, लेटरल मेरिस्टेम एंड द इंटरकैलरी मेरिस्टेम. ओके, अब न्यू सेल्स प्रोड्यूस्ड बाय द मेरिस्टेम आर इनिशियली लाइक दोज ऑफ मेरिस्टेम इटसेल्फ, बट as they grow and mature, their characteristics slowly change. They become differentiated as components of the other tissue. So students, what will happen that when this cell divide, so at the initial stage all the cell is being undifferentiated, unspecialized, okay, उनको कोई भी particular function assign नहीं होता है, but with the course of the time these cells became differentiated means what, basically in which the unspecialized cells assign certain function and they basically going to perform the specific function, जिसको हम कभी कभी कह देते हैं division of labor, where cells become specialized and performing a particular function, and while doing that they often lose the ability to carry out the other functions. So this is the process of the differentiation occurring in the meristematic tissue. Now students, if we talk about the growing region or the sites where the meristematic tissue is being present, then we are having the three types: apical meristem, okay, intercalary meristem, and the lateral meristem. So these are the three important types of the meristematic tissue depending on the sites or the region within the plant body where they are present. But students, before we start with the types of the meristem, we need to understand the characteristics of the meristematic tissue. Okay, we need to understand first the characteristics of the meristematic tissue. In your chapter, it is written over here that cells of the meristematic tissue are very active. So obviously, why they are active? Because they having the tendency to divide continuously, and they having the then cytoplasm, meristematic cells having the then cytoplasm. Students also know that meristematic cells are very similar in structure. अब ये similar in structure क्यों है? Because they are unspecialized cell, उन्हें कोई भी function अभी तक assign नहीं हुआ है. So they are basically similar in structure, consist of the dense cytoplasm. Cells are very active, okay, they having thin cellulose walls and the prominent nuclei. And now what does it mean? That अब यहाँ पे क्या है, dense cytoplasm का मतलब होता है they having a very huge amount of cytoplasm and the cell wall is very thin, small thin cell walls होती हैं इनके cells की, and cells is basically students arranged very compactly to each other. इसका मतलब क्या, that they basically lack intercellular spaces. Intercellular spaces का मतलब होता है स्टूडेंट कि दो सेल के बीच में जो स्पेस होती है वो बहुत कम होती है या ना के बराबर होती है. सो दीज टाइप्स ऑफ अरेंजमेंट इज नोन एज द compact arrangement, and the cells of the meristematic tissue lacks intercellular spaces. Students, there are the two terms, intercellular and the intracellular. Intercellular means the space that is present in between the two cells, and intracellular means the space that is present inside the cell. Okay, so you need to understand, if we talk about the place that is present inside the cell, that is known as intracellular, intracellular, and if we talk about the place that is present in between the two cells, so that is known as intercellular. Now they also lacks vacuoles, okay, वहाँ पे vacuoles भी नहीं होता. And अब यू कैन बेसिकली थिंक्स दैट वाई दे लैक वैक्यूल. अगर हम एक क्वेश्चन पूछते हैं दैट वाई the meristematic cells lacks vacuole, so basically vacuoles are the cell organelle that are responsible for the storage of the food. but यहाँ पे इनको continuously divide करना होता है तो उतनी food storage की requirement नहीं होती है. fine. Now the cells, you know that they having prominent nuclei and dense cytoplasm, vacuoles are absent. Cells is obviously living because it is continuously dividing, and the cell possesses the power of the cell division, that is they divide repeatedly to produce new cell, and this new cell later on after the process of differentiation give rise to the permanent tissue. Fine. So this is the basic characteristics of the meristematic tissue. If we talk about the function, so you know very well the function is to bring about the increase in the length and the girth of the plant body. Length or girth को increase करना is the most important function. Now, if we talk about the types of the meristematic tissue, so you know that basically three important types of meristematic tissue is present: apical meristem, intercalary meristem, and the lateral meristem. Now student, if we talk about the apical meristem, so apical meristem is present at the growing tips of the stems and the root. Okay, they are present specifically at the growing tips of the root and the stems or the growing branches. And sometimes student, we can also call it as the primary meristem. And apical meristem consists of the group of the cells which give rise to the primary permanent tissue when they get mature. And due to the growth of this apical meristem, right, basically plant increases what? It increases the length of the stem and the root. सो जब हम लेंथ की बात करते हैं, जब हम लेंथ और उसकी स्टेम की और रूट की लेंथ की जब हम बात करते हैं, सो देयर द टाइप ऑफ द टिश्यू दैट इज प्रेजेंट, मेरिस्टेमेटिक टाइप, इज नोन एज द एपिकल मेरिस्टेम, एंड दैट बेसिकली रिस्पॉन्सिबल टू इंक्रीज द length of the root and the stem. Okay, the second type is the lateral meristem. Now lateral meristem is also known as the cambium. Now student, you need to understand that lateral meristem is present at the sides of the root, as you look over here in the diagram. Okay, so lateral meristem is present at the on the sides of the root or the stem, and this is basically student responsible to increase the girth of the stem or the root. So the girth of the stem and the root is being increased by the division of the lateral meristem. Students, these types of tissue, na, lateral meristematic tissue, also responsible for the growth in the thickness. गर्थ को बढ़ाते हैं, उसकी चौड़ाई को बढ़ाते हैं, थिकनेस को इंक्रीज करते हैं. ओके, बाय द एडिशन ऑफ द सेकेंडरी टिश्यू, and the process of the addition of the secondary tissue we commonly refer to as secondary growth. ठीक, तो यहाँ पे हमने ये समझा that apical meristem is present in the growing tips of the stem, lateral meristem is present at the sides of the root and the stem. Okay, and sometimes also occurs as the cambium. अब कैम्बियम की अगर बात करें तो कैम्बियम इज प्रेजेंट इन बिटवीन द वास्कुलर बंडल्स. वास्कुलर बंडल्स मतलब जाइलम और फ्लोएम के बीच में होते हैं ऑफ द डाइकॉट रूट्स. फाइन. नाउ द थर्ड मोस्ट टाइप ऑफ द मेरिस्टेमेटिक टिश्यू इज द इंटरकैलरी मेरिस्टेम. Now what do you mean by intercalary meristem? As you look over here in the diagram, intercalary meristem is the part that is present at the base of the nodes. यहाँ पे ठीक है, base of the nodes, internodes और the base of the leaves. तो वहाँ पे जो टिश्यू प्रेजेंट होता है that is known as the intercalary meristem. Now student, intercalary meristem, you know what? It is basically the part of the apical meristem which gets separated from the apex due to the development of the permanent tissue in between. So intercalary meristem is also the part of the apical meristem that gets separated, okay, on the onset of the formation of the permanent tissue in between them. And the cambium is basically present in between the vascular bundle, that is xylem and phloem, of the dicot roots. And sometimes if that is present in the stem, so we can call it as the core cambium that is present beneath the branch. So basically intercalary meristems are responsible, okay, to elongate the plant basically, and it's a part of the apical meristem present at the near the node or the internode. Fine. So students, these are the three important types of the meristematic tissue, that is the apical meristem, lateral meristem and the intercalary meristem. And we have also seen that what is actually a meristematic tissue is, what are the certain characteristics, that is they having the tendency to divide continuously, cells divide continuously in the case of the meristematic tissue. Student, that's all for this video. In the next video we are going to start with the permanent tissue. Okay, so you need to understand by the previous video the various different part different types of the tissue. Plant tissue is basically categorized in the meristematic and the permanent. Meristematic के भी तीन sections, तीन types: apical, lateral and the intercalary. Now when we come to the permanent tissue, then we will see the types of the permanent tissue. Okay, so I hope this much is clear, and if you have any doubt you can ask in the comment section below. Okay, thank you, god bless.